Hi, I'm Sharon Bill. Welcome to my Theory Tuition series where I'll lead you step by step through the ABRSM theory grades. We're cracking on through the ABRSM Grade 1 Music Theory and Practice workbook. There are loads of resources available to help you with this on my website. If you visit sharonbill.com, everything you need to know is there. Particularly, there are some free PDF information sheets that I will be referring back to regularly. They're available in US letter or A4 and they'll accompany each section of this series. There's also a page with links to all of my previous YouTube video tutorials, and you can also access information about the books that I have available there. There's a book that I've written, How to Take Your ABRSM Music Theory Exam, grades 1, 2 and 3. 4 and 5 will be coming shortly, and that's got lots of tips and techniques of how to make the best use of your exam time, which is what we're working to as we progress through this music theory and practice workbook. And so we're on to the section K, which talks about tones and semitones. So do go ahead to sharonbill.com, download the grade 1 PDF series and refer to sheet K, tones and semitones. So let's turn in your workbook. So we're turning to page 15 and we're looking at tones and semitones. Have your pencil and eraser to hand, and I'm just going to mark here K so we know that this is sheet K that we're referring to. In the previous video we've already done a little bit of work in preparation for this as we think about tones and semitones. I will just say again that I strongly recommend that you learn to draw out for yourself a quick sketch of a piano keyboard. Even if you don't play piano, it's really helpful to be able to visualise these steps. A semitone is literally next door notes. Whether it's black or white is irrelevant. It's just literally next door notes. That's a semitone or a half step. And so a full tone or a full step is two halves. So from C, half to D is a full step or a tone. Whereas from C to C sharp or D flat is a semitone. Let's look at that in another context. So C to B is a semitone. C to B flat is a full tone, and we can call each of these notes by different names. It's just regardless of the black or white, it just depends how we refer to it. So we could say C to B flat is a tone, or we might choose to say C to A sharp is a tone. We're just calling that same step, that same full tone by a different name. So C to D is a full step, D to E is a full step, E to F is a half step. So we'd say tone or semitone. So let's look at that and put that knowledge into application, looking at these exercises. So we've got lots of pairs of notes here, and they're asking us, exercise 1 says to draw a bracket above any pairs that are semitones. Remember, a semitone is a half tone or a half step, and so do have a piano keyboard to hand. If you want to have a quick reference, just here, just jot yourself a piano keyboard. Let's just draw that quickly, just for quick and easy reference. Give yourself a good octave or so. So it's 2 black notes, miss 1. 3 black notes, miss 1. 2 black notes, and so on. No prizes for artistic creativity here, but never mind, it's doing the job. And let's just take all of the brain power out and just label these to help us. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E. We've got plenty to go at there. Okay, so you've just got to keep your eyes peeled. I'm going to draw a pair of glasses here. Just watch out because it's going to keep changing clef. So you might find you want to have pages D and E with those notes of the two different clefs available to help you if you're not feeling very conversant at jumping between the clefs. So it's asked us to draw a bracket above any pairs that are semitones. Let's look at the first two and then you can have a go at some on your own. So here we've got treble clef, every good boy, that's a B, and FAC, that's a C. So if you look at your little chart, B to C are directly next door notes and that's a semitone, therefore we've given it a bracket. Let's look at this next one. Every good boy deserves, that's a D, and FAC, so D to C is not a semitone, therefore we don't need a bracket, so we'll just leave that. So hopefully you get the idea. Have a go at this exercise 1, press pause and then re-access into the video once you've had a go. Do try it on your own, try it in pencil, doesn't matter if you get it wrong, we can always rub out and try again. And so I'm assuming that you've had a little go at exercise 1 on your own, so let's look at this together now. So treble clef, every good, that's a G, and then the space is spelled face, F-A, that's an A. So G to A is not a semitone, that's a full step, and so we don't want a bracket. It's only asked us to draw brackets over the semitones. Okay, now we've moved into bass clef, so good boys deserve football, that's an F sharp. And then the next note is all cows eat grass, G. So F sharp to G is a semitone, therefore we will bracket it. Okay, back into the treble clef now. The space is spelled face, F-A-C sharp. And then this next one, every good boy deserves, D sharp. So let's look at that. C sharp to D sharp is not a semitone, and so we don't need to bracket it. Let's carry on. So here we've got a bass clef, so good boys deserve, and then all cows. So D to C is not a semitone, so no bracket is required. Jumping back to treble clef now, every good boy, that's a B flat, and then F-A, so B flat to A is directly, absolutely next door note, that is a semitone, and therefore we need to bracket it. Okay, bass clef now, all cows eat grass, that's a G, and then that's a G sharp. Let's look at that. G to G sharp is a semitone, so we'll bracket that. Let's look at this one. All cows eat grass, that's a G, and then good boys deserve football, always A flat. G to A flat is a semitone, and so we'll bracket that. Notice those two are actually the same key, G sharp, A flat, but written in a different way. Actually makes exactly the same sound if you were to play it. Okie dokie, last one here. So we've got C, there's our middle, there's our C which forms the top of the bass, the bottom of the treble, and then that is our B. Remember, if we count good boys deserve football, always A is the top line, then B, then C as we step up. So let's look at C to B. That is a semitone, and so we would bracket that. There we go. So the same principle will now apply for exercise 2. If you just read the question, it says add an accidental if it's needed, it may not be needed, to the second note in each of these pairs so that it is a semitone above the first. Put a tick underneath if it does not need an accidental. So if it's already a semitone and doesn't need changing, just give it a tick, it's already there. So let's look at the example that they've given us here. So they've given us, every good boy deserves. So if you go back to your chart, a D, a semitone above that is this key here. So we could either call it D sharp or E flat, depending which note they've given us. So we're aiming to get the D sharp or E flat. Now they've given us a note D, and so we've had to add a sharp sign to make it. It depends upon which note they've given us, which note head will have to react accordingly. Let's look at this next one. Now this next one could be a little bit of a trick question, so I'll just give you a heads up here. This is good boys B flat, and so just refer to your little chart, B flat. So B flat, we need to make the second note a semitone above the first, and so that needs to be a B. And so that looks like that is a B, doesn't it? However, remember from our previous chapter, that B flat still continues until the bar line cancels it. So at present, that is still B flat. If you just give that a tick, actually, that note hasn't changed. We need to raise it, a semitone, by cancelling the flat sign. Otherwise, it would still be B flat. So don't forget, you've got to cancel your accidental. Have a go at exercise 2 now. Remember, you've got to make the second note a semitone above the first. Press pause, have a go, and then we'll have a go together. So I'm presuming you've had a little go at that yourself, and so now we'll just quickly mark through these together. So we have treble clef, every good boy, that's a B. In order to make it a semitone higher, we need it to be this key here, which is C. This is F A C, which is already what we need, and so we can just give that a tick. It doesn't need changing. Okay, we're on to the bass clef now. Good boys deserve. They've given us a D. We need it to be a semitone higher, and at present what we've got to work with is an all cows eat. We've got this. So let's look, we want a D, raised a semitone, we need it to be this key, so we could either call it D sharp or E flat. Because they've given us a note E, we have to add the flat sign. So D to E flat is now a semitone apart. If they'd given us another note D here, we'd have to have called it D sharp to make that work. Okay, so into the treble clef, this is a note E, this is a note F. E to F is already a semitone apart, so we just give that a tick, it doesn't need changing. So here we have a note F, and now they've given us a note G. We need this note to be a semitone above this note. They've given us an F. We need this here to be represented to make it the semitone above. So we can't call it F sharp, we'll have to call it G flat, because that's what they've given us to work with. Okay, the next one, we're in the bass clef, all cows eat grass, there's a G. And then the next note above that, good boys deserve football always, is an A. So we need the G here, and we need a semitone above. And so we could either call it G sharp or A flat. Because they've given us a note A, we need to call it A flat. So now that is a semitone apart, G to A flat. Let's try this last one. So all cows, we've got a C sharp, and then our next note, good boys deserve, is a D. So C sharp to D, that's already a semitone high, that's exactly what we want, so nothing needs changing, just give it a tick. So it's the same principle for exercise 3. it's asked us to add an accidental if it's needed to the second note in each of these pairs, but this time we need to make sure that it is a semitone below the first, so we're going the other way. Again, put a tick underneath if it does not need an accidental. So here we've got a good boys, a B, and for it to be a semitone lower we need to represent this key on the note, and so we've gone B flat. They've added a flat and now it's a semitone lower. Let's just try this one together here. So we've got every good, we're in the treble clef, there's a G, and then the space is spelled face, so that's an F. So we need to make this note a semitone lower than this note. We're starting on G, here's a semitone lower, and so we will need to call it F sharp because they've given us the F key, so we need to add the sharp sign. And so the principle continues, adding accidentals to each of these pairs. If it doesn't need an accidental and it's already a semitone, just give it a tick. Have a little go on your own. Don't worry if you make a mistake, it's better to learn by your mistakes. We're only working in pencil, we can always erase and have another go. So I'm presuming that you've had a little go at those on your own. Do try it on your own first. It's much better to make a few mistakes and learn through that process than just to copy with me. So let's have a look at these last few. So here we're in the treble clef, and so every good boy says football, there's our F, and then the space is spelled face, F-A-C-E, so F to E. Let's look at our keyboard. F to E is already a semitone, so we'll just give that a tick, nothing needs changing. Let's look at this. All cows eat, we've got E flat. Our next note is good boys deserve. So we've got an E flat as our starting note. We need to be a semitone lower, which is D. The note they've given us is D, so actually everything's already in place, nothing needs to be altered. Let's look ahead now, we're on to the treble clef, so F, A, C sharp. We need to be a semitone lower, let's have a look, so C sharp is there, a semitone lower would just be this key here. Now they've actually given us a C, but don't forget at present that is still C sharp because the sharp sign lasts for the whole bar, so we've got to get rid of that sharp sign, and so we need to add a natural sign to make it a semitone lower. A little bit of a trick question there, I think. Okay, and so now we're in the bass clef, all cows. And then the next note we've got to work with is good boys B. So let's look at that. We've got a C as our starting note. Let's jump an octave so we've got somewhere to go to. And then a semitone lower is B. And so actually we have here C, B. That is already a semitone lower, so just give it a tick. It's already sorted. Okay, this one is a little bit of a brain teaser here. Let's see how you've managed with this one. Like I say, don't worry if you've got it wrong. It's always better to learn by your mistakes. Good boys deserve football. We have an F sharp. Let's look at that on our piano keyboard. F sharp is here. So a semitone lower is this key here. That's the one we want to represent on the music because we need it to be a semitone lower than what they've given us. Now let's look at what they've given us. They've given us to work with all cows eat, which looks a little bit impossible. They've given us eat, E. However, to make that represent that key, we need to raise this a semitone, don't we? And so what we actually need to do is call this E sharp. So let's look at the keyboard again. F sharp to E sharp is a semitone lower. A little bit of a brain teaser there. That was a particularly tricky one. Okay, last one. So here we've got F, A, and then we've got another A to go at. So how do we make that a semitone lower? The answer is pretty obvious really. A semitone lower. We know from the previous chapter a flat lowers a note by a semitone, so we just need to make that into an A flat. There we go. So quite an important concept really. Tones and semitones crop up in so much of our music. Our whole Western musical system is based around this series of semitones and tones. So it's quite an important concept to grasp. If you feel like you've just struggled a little with that, by all means just rub it out and go through the video again. It's always better to make sure you learn it thoroughly. I hope that's been helpful to you. I hope you're enjoying it. Give me a thumbs up if it's helping you. If you can give me a like, that'd be fab. And if you could subscribe to my channel, then you'll be sure not to miss out. There's loads more in store. I'm really enjoying working through this with you. Please do visit sharonbill.com, get your hands on those PDF information sheets and have a look at the resources available to you there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.